Hello and welcome to this fifth devlog of the Astreterre project. I'm OraNN and the Portals of Astreterre is a 2D tactical role-playing game inspired by Minecraft. Today we will see the player's attack. Before we start, I'll show you an improvement to the game's console. I picked up on Graby's advice in the comments. I modified the command which allows to modify the variables of the game. We can now write set, add or sub to define the value of a variable, add or subtract a number. The code for this element is almost the same, but the operation is much clearer. I also added the possibility of making the collision cells appear or disappear. Before being able to manage the player's attack, I first improved the display of some information in the game. The first concerns the cursor. Before, it only appears two states: a cursor with steps when the player could move on a cell, and a no-way cursor for all other cells. Now the cursor changes depending on what is on the cell the mouse hovers over. The cursor can display a magnifying glass. This will later display data on the creature, such as its range, for example. Or a target as a symbol of the attack. When you hover directly over a creature, or over its icon on the right, you will now see its name and hit points. For now, this is plain text in a label node. Later, the display will be nicer and more graphic. Detecting the cell hovered over by the player is done in the gameboard script, which manages the entire combat grid. The onCursorMoved function is used to manage this display at each change of the hovered cell. We check each time that the cell contains a creature or not. The first step in dealing with the attack was the melee attack. When the player is in the cell adjacent to his target, he can attack it and inflict 1 point of damage on it. I created a function in the gameboard script to detect if a target is adjacent to an attacker. I used what I had already coded when creatures attack, but adapted it so that this function returns a Boolean value, true or false. These features can now be used regardless of attacker and target, player or AI. If the player is not near their target, I have created a system for the game to automatically calculate the nearest cell. The path is then displayed and the cursor is in the shape of a target. By clicking, we change the movement and the attack. The script used here is also largely the same as for the AI managed combat. I also adapted it to work for the player and for the creatures in the gameboard script, so that it can be reused later. If the player can deal damage, creatures must die when they are out of health. Visually, since there are no animations yet, I just added a red cross on the creature. Now, when a creature dies, its icon disappears from the list of the next creatures to play. At the end, only the player remains. Each creature has an is alive variable, and when it turns false, it no longer blocks the cell it is on. We can therefore cross this cell. I had to improve the script timeline, which manages the turn of the creatures to take into account their death. Each creature triggers a function upon death to have its node removed from active creatures. Thus, it no longer plays during the next rounds. Finally, I also improved the display of the overlay for displacement. This is a small improvement in comfort without much change in the logic of the code. Now, after a move, the player is selected again and the overlay is displayed. When attacking a creature, the overlay automatically updates based on the remaining action points. And to conclude, as soon as a creature dies, you can move again to the cell it occupied. To improve the player's attack phase, I will be adding the ability to use different equipment, melee weapons and ranged weapons. Likewise, defense will be improved in the future to take into account armors. There will of course be animations to add to all the fighters. I would also like to add dice rolls like in paper role-playing games. Thank you for watching these devlogs. I hope you liked it. Do not hesitate to give your opinion in the comments. You can also subscribe to not miss the next devlogs. I created a Twitter account for Astreterre. I broadcast at least one stream every week on Twitch and I upload it on YouTube. Thank you to everyone who helped this project and in particular to Mimish. See you soon. Bye bye.